For God is king and ruler of everything. And he will never leave you, neither will he forsake you.
Welcome to part 3 and my final installment of a conversation with Carolyn McDonald.
Think through, meditate on what's the best way to tell your story, what's the and get it to the audience, and speak to those you want to talk to. I heard an interview with Paul McCartney one time that it would blew my mind. I think I pulled my car over. It was so deep. And it was a journalist asked him, Paul McCartney, how do you write so many hit songs? You've written like more hit songs than any songwriter in our lifetime. And Paul McCartney said to him, dude, I'm just having a conversation with somebody. I'm like, it's like my bloke, my friend here. And I just think, what would I say to my friend?
It's for me, I'm like, I really am choked up, because for me, as one who is a creative, though this was great, and I'm going to share this with other people, I am stealing every bit of what you just said for myself, like, because you do find yourself as a creative, you do find people try to get you to define, or what do you look like, or where this is, and for someone like it's when you're multifaceted. And I think this is where my draw was. And I said, I was going to reach out to her because, like I said, it was recreating this whole space of where Freedom Song is. Mm-hmm. There are a whole bunch of people who had never heard of it. A whole bunch of people never even knew that I was a part of it. But then I woke up and I was just like, who's going to tell this specific part of my life? Nobody knows this part of my life like I do. So this is a great opportunity to do that. So when you said it's all about storytelling, I got it while I was preparing myself for today. I was telling a friend, I was like, I get it. It's the story. I was like, everything is the story. I'm like, to hear you say it's about the story. I've been intent and very drawn to talking to people who are like me that nobody's talking to. I always think about the stuff that I missed out on. Like, what would I have wanted somebody to say to me? Am I in that space in my life that I can actually give that to someone? Right. So for me to hear you say it is the story, because that is really the inspiration that I see from you. Like, I've seen, like, just to hear about Nouns in the Road, and then to see your photographs. And I'm like, here is this person that I met as a producer. And I know her on a very open format of social media and watch you display these other things. I was like, where do you get the courage to do stuff like that? Like, where does that come from?
God, I mean, I've this last year, couple of years has been challenging for so many people. And it was really hard for me. I got COVID twice. And the second time I got it, I got really sick. And it was a defining moment of what do you love? And also with coming, I left LA for a long time and I went to Nashville and I run this really cool inner city youth film program and directed documentaries and stuff. And I went to New York because my mom was having some health issues. And so I was out of LA for 12 years or whatever, for a long time. And so coming back, the industry's changed, all the people have changed, you don't know anybody anymore. And trying to get myself back in, and it's not a kind industry, it's just not, and so when I got sick and I got back and then stuff shut down 4 months later, that was the timing. And I'm like, okay, right. All right, y'all, what's going on? And so again, it's like, what do I do? And so I started making these frames, like I said, and I said to myself one day when I was doing this, and I asked myself that question, it's like, why are you even, I was writing a script. I was like, why are you even doing this, anymore? Nobody will call you back. Nobody, why you keep doing this? And something came up in me, my spirit, my gut was like, because this is who you are. That's what shows up in the tough times. The photographer shows up, the designer shows up, the screenwriter shows up. It's because it's who you are. And in the tough times, that's what's going to show up. Now, if a banker showed up, I'd be a banker. If a nurse showed up, I'd be a nurse. You know, let's go back to school and be a nurse. But that's what showed up, you know, in me to come out, you know. So that's the answer. And back to story, the other thing I did when I, during this pandemic, you know, about story is like wanting to teach people how to transform their hardship into story. You know, and if you have something else to ask me, I'll come back around to that.
No, go
that's
there, go there. We're there, go there.
Okay, okay. I went through something, I don't even want to go into detail about it, a couple of years ago. It was very painful thing. And in the middle of this grief, this deep heartbreak, pain, grief, I was, quote unquote, this script came to me. This movie idea came to me. It was just like I could see it. Like, remember in Field of Dreams when you saw the ball field, and it was literally, it was like I saw the scene, I saw the shot, I was like, ah, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is, and it was like, this is a good idea. Oh my goodness. But then, and I was like, so, because I saw it so very clearly, it was that moment of Field of Dreams, and it was, the story was very healing. It was about shame and sabotage, trauma came out of that, but it was romantic comedy, a film for romantic comedy. So I started writing, but then in the next beat I got mad. I was like, why you give me an idea for a movie and I'm in pain here? This is not fair. Like, you're not supposed to, you know. But then I reluctantly, and I wrote the script. I really like the script. It's out now. Like I said, you know, want to make it as a feature for me to direct. But in the process of telling that story, it was so healing for me, you know. And then I sent it to a buddy of mine who's a producer, he's one of the producers on it. And he said, you took your pain and you made art out of it, you know, and you observed, you know, this person, these characters who through their trauma and grief had hurt others and showed the process of healing through your own pain. And so that's something that I want to do as an instructor, as a teacher, is to, especially now, because there's so many hurting people in the world that have been through so much, is like, how do you take that pain and transform it into something else, a work of art? And you hear like songwriting, like the blue, if there would be no blues if it were not for that, okay?
Right.
You know, there would be no soul music. I was listening to Otis Redding the other day. I was like, man, she must have really broke your heart, man. That song is dope.
Man, cadences in his music alone.
Right. You know, and so that's something I've just been very aware of the last, like I said, couple years, and want to, am working on right now on my other computer is designing a course to help people through the process of exercising and transforming their pain into art, into storytelling.
I want in on that course. I want to send me that email. I want in on that course. I'm sitting here and I was like, look, I want in on that. Like, because I think, and I love it because as a Black woman, as a creative, there are often times where I get stopped for wanting to tell the story. There's like this layer of, like, I don't want to tell the story because I'm like, will this person know that this is about them? Like, or about that experience? Like, what, do you ever have that pause?
In this case, I didn't. With that script, I didn't, but there's been others. And that was the other thing. After I wrote this script, I looked back at like 3 other scripts I'd written, and I was like, oh my God, this is kind of a theme for me. There's, you know, when that happened, I wrote a script about it. I wrote a script about it. I wrote a script about it. And I was like, oh my God, you've got to teach this, because you know, this one you just wrote wasn't the only one. I didn't even know, especially this, I wrote this series about, you know, a family member, our relationship, and I had to mess around with it a little bit because I didn't want her to know that it was her. And so I added some other things and, you know, stuff like that, which she's still probably gonna know. But it was, again, another situation where, again, you realize your story is singular, yours, but it's probably not, you're not alone with the experience itself. You know what I mean?
And I am so thankful that you answered my inbox. I am so thankful that you just stopped and took the moment, because
Absolutely.
we don't take the chances. And I was like, look, I gotta take the chance. Well, one, I respect people and I respect their privacy, especially when it comes to media. So like when I'm tagging photos, like I don't want to tag people. I don't want to do those things unless this is
I
something that
agree. Same
you
here,
know,
right?
you
Same
want to
here.
invite that into your space. And I was like, Freedom Song is this beautiful thing for me. And it's great, but I need to be, decent if I'm gonna talk about these other people in this space. So it was literally just like, hey, I'm being respectful. If you don't mind, do you want? And then he was like, anything I can do. I said, would you talk to me? Like, it was, I sat there for like 2 minutes and I was like, she said anything. She said anything. Go for it, Brad. Go for it.
Yeah.
And so I'm so thankful. I really am, because I know that this will help so many other people. It's been a mountain for me, and it's been a huge encouragement for me, especially in this. There's a turn for me, so I'm thankful that you took the time out. So how can we support you? What are you working on? You just gave me a little bit of that thing, but how can there other people support you and things like that, of stuff that you're working on?
Stuff I'm working on. I mean, go to my photo website. I'll give you the links, and you can share, however you share this. So, check out my photography. That's something I'm working on. And again, kind of came up during the pandemic, of going back to my photography. Because like I said, I've been shooting pictures since I was 7 years old. I grew up on a farm in North Carolina and started, stealing my mother's little brownie camera and going around and started stalking people. And, Nouns in the Road, that was born, and just, shooting pictures and then traveling. But during the pandemic, something that came up was being in your house, isolated, and what's on your walls, and what stories, having stories on your walls. And so that's how, this iteration of Nouns in the Road and now Time and Tide and Imaginary Bands came about. Imaginary Bands came about. You'll appreciate this story too, because you sing. Imaginary Bands, because I had insomnia. I don't sleep well. And last night I slept good, for the first time in a long time. But I have insomnia. I wake up in the middle of the night. I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? I'm not going to worry. So this stuff comes in my mind. And I remembered when I was in high school and I got my 35mm camera and I learned how to develop. And I wanted to shoot album covers because, it was like Earth, Wind and Fire, the Isley Brothers, Marvin Gaye. I loved Chicago, Pink Floyd. They had the best album covers. And you always got a knucklehead friend. Nobody go hire you to shoot no album covers. Blah, blah, blah. So I thought about that at like 3 a.m. one night. And I said, I'm gonna make up my own album covers. I'm writing poetry and titles and songs. I have a friend in Nashville, right? And so I thought of this title, Imaginary Bands and Their Fake Songs. And so I took my photos and I made up fake imaginary bands, literally imaginary bands, imaginary artists, and took my photos and made the covers, title of the song. And so that
I love it.
But then what I did too, Brandon, because our house on this site is called pictime.com/ if you're an artist art, they have a little feature where you can record something about the photo. So I took it upon myself to create these liner notes, and I made up stories about the fake and the imaginary people and the imaginary artists. And so I one's called Sniggly Mason, and he's the old blues guy, and he was rediscovered by these two British blokes, but ain't that always the case, and now Sniggly's back for his comeback because they found him.
This is great. I love it.
So again, it's back to the story within the image, and so to support me, go check that out, and I'll give you, the information, the links to go to that, and my course, those are probably the two biggest things right now that I'm working on. I mean, I want, of course, to do the feature film, but that's coming, and then I have these audio essays that I've been doing as well. That's on SoundCloud. I did one on Mr. Poirier. Did you hear the one I did about Mr. Poirier?
So like I'm telling you, when I say I'm a fan, I'm a fan. So like I know you're telling all of them, but I'm like, I know this. I know this. And we're not a fan, but like just a supporter, just like I really really, like I said, I take to that and I'm inspired by that. I'm just like so blessed to have met you and to know you and to,
Thank
you know,
you.
still be able to be in contact with you is just
Yes. I'm so glad you reached out and to see you thriving and using, still using this as an opportunity for yourself. And I'm just I had no idea until you reached out that you were doing all this. I'm so proud of you and so happy for you that you're doing this. That's
you.
amazing. It's awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much.
You're welcome. My pleasure. Like I said, if you need anything,
Look,
please don't hesitate to call. You got my number and
yeah,
email.
I have your email. And don't forget to tell me about your course. Like, I'm serious. I want
I
you to.
I am. It's called the Spicy Lemonade Writers Workshop, Writers Lab, Spicy Lemonade. Just make that lemonade out of
Oh,
lemons,
I love you. Thank you so
You
much,
too.
Carolyn.
All right, keep up
Enjoy.
the great work. Keep up the great
I
work.
will do. Have a good one.
You too.
Bye.
Thank you to the wonderful Carolyn McDonald for this conversation with Q. I look forward to many others. Stay tuned to what's coming soon.